Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this webinar today on Omnichannel Retail, how brands can supercharge their sales. My name is Jenny Carey. I'm joining you today from ChannelSight, where I'm a Customer Success Manager. And today I'll be getting our panelists to share their insights on the topics and subtopics that we've put together for you today on all things omnichannel. So I guess we'll kick off with some introductions. We have a great panel on today. Firstly, we have my ChannelSight colleague, Adi Labe, who's our Client Solutions and Strategy Manager. Joining us from ShipBob then, we have Karley Daudell, who sits as Partnerships Lead. And last but by no means least, we have Chris Lavoie, who joins us as the Technology Partner from Gorgias. I will now pass over to each of them to tell us a little bit more about themselves. And we'll start off with you, Adi.
Hey, everyone. Firstly, nice to meet you all. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're based. And yeah, I'm very glad to be a part of this great panel today. Really looking forward to having webinar with Karley and Chris, and obviously Jenny as well. So yeah, I'm sure we have some great content lined up. A bit about myself. I've been working with ChannelSight for close to 5 years now. And as Jenny mentioned, my role is that of a client solution manager. So to put it simply, I help our clients understand the solutions that we have on offer a bit more clearly and essentially get value out of the service that we have. But then again, working very closely with some of the brands who are in the e-commerce space. So plugging in our solutions with what they have on offer when it comes to e-commerce, but then at the same time, ensuring that they are getting the most value when they use our solutions. So yeah, again, very nice to be a part of this webinar today. I'm looking forward to speaking with Chris, Karley, and Jenny. On to you, Karley, if you don't mind.
Hello, everyone. My name's Karley. I am the channel account manager at ShipBob. A little bit about me is I've been with ShipBob for about 4 years now. I was number 15 in hiring, so I've really been with ShipBob from the start. And super excited to be joined by the rest of our panelists as well as to learn from them today. So thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Yeah, and my name is Chris. I lead tech partnerships at Gorgias, which is a customer support help desk built for e-commerce merchants. My job is to form strategic partnerships with other technology platforms in the space to improve our product by means of an integration, for instance, and really help our customers better leverage Gorgias by connecting it with apps. And so really excited to be here today to share a little bit about how brands can leverage omni-channel from a support perspective.
Okay, great. Thanks very much for those intros. Some super great experience there. So looking forward to drawing on all of that and getting to the topics. So I guess without further ado, we'll get straight into it. As you can see here, we have a great agenda. I'll be posing some different questions to the panelists on these different topics. So we'll head straight into the first one, which is, and maybe Adi will go to you first. Could you start us off by elaborating on what omnichannel is and the importance of having an omnichannel presence?
Definitely, thanks for that, Jenny, again. I think omnichannel as a term, have surfaced a lot, especially over the last, 6-7 months. And, we just thought it'd be a good idea to just kind of further define it and make it a bit more specific in this webinar. Like, as we all know it ourselves, omnichannel, the term in itself, is very simple. It essentially means all your activities going, especially from a sales standpoint, they're all interlinked and intersynced so that there is a seamlessness when it comes to different sales channels that you as a brand are selling on. So again, to further simplify it, it essentially doesn't matter whether, if a consumer is shopping on a mobile phone, if they're shopping on a desktop, if it's brick and click, if it's purely offline, purely online, that consistency and seamlessness of offering an experience which is same throughout that, that whole process. I think that's one way to put, what omnichannel retail actually means. Again, you must have heard a lot around, BOPIS and click and collect and all these things which have now become a part of omnichannel retail as well. But then the crust of it lies in the fact that giving that liberty and giving that choice to the consumer, when they want to buy, how they want to buy it, but at the same time, where they want to receive the product or receive the shipment, and how they want to ship and receive it as well. Again, I know there's a lot of expertise within the panel, so I would again like to open it up. If Karley, Chris, if you have any thoughts on for defining it, happy to take it like that. But at least from my standpoint, the way I look at omnichannel, it's just providing the customers with that simplicity and that connectedness across the whole funnel, right from awareness to shipping to sales to after, etc. Again, one of the questions that get raised a lot is omni-channel, multi-channel. What's the difference, right? Again, it's purely semantics from our standpoint. Like it's as we said earlier on, omni-channel has the benefits of providing that simple interconnected experience when it comes to the touch points, right? So it's one channel getting integrated from all the different touch points that a brand sells or markets on. Hence, it's not in silo, right? So it's when all your initiatives are getting merged into one, versus multi-channel is when all these different initiatives, like some that you can see on the screen right now, like channel focus as an example. There's siloed channel focus, so individual channel gets its own importance, and hence all the activations for the channel gets its own importance as well. So at times the experience is separated, and that's the biggest difference again when it comes to omni-channel and multi-channel, is the fact that how omni-channel things or omni-channel looks like something that's one, versus multi-channel looks and feels like something that's different. So you focus on optimizing your ads versus not optimizing the sales when it comes to multi-channels. But then from an omni-channel standpoint, it's about optimizing the ad, taking into account the sales. So it's not different. Omni-channel is connected versus multi-channel is just separate in itself. Anything you want to add there, Jenny?
No, it's seems like you give a really good overview there, Addy, and it's good to really get that difference there as well. And omnichannel is obviously something that's coming up more and more, so it's really good to get the difference between the two, and really you can start to see where the value in omnichannel starts to come out there as well. Karley, Chris, would you have anything else to add there on that?
Yeah, the one thing I'd just echo, and I know it's going to be a major theme today, is just consistency across channels, right? We know as consumers, we're starting to be able to buy things across channels we didn't even know existed, maybe 5 years ago. So that's great. People are excited. They're going to start adopting it more. But as a brand, you really need to make sure that the entire customer journey is consistent across all your channels, so you can really drive that brand loyalty. Because once you start sensing, okay, a brand is really consistent across all channels, pre and post purchase, it's just going to become much more stickier with you. So yeah, the consistency is, I know, is a big theme for me.
Exactly. Again, just to add on to what Chris said there, I think it's very important to think of omni-channel now, not just purely from a marketing lens, but throughout the journey lens, right? So shipping, delivery, big part of the experience, customer care, big part of the experience, but then at the same time, retention and understanding insights. Insights can't just purely be analytics, digital analytics anymore. It has to stream offline. So all these factors essentially would help in figuring out what's the best journey for brands. But then at the same time, from an investment standpoint, like it necessarily did not just fall into the marketing space, but you have to go a bit beyond marketing and think of marketing as also a part of the overall channel. So I think that kind of like gets us to the next slide, which I think Jenny already has on screen there. So thanks, Jenny. So again, one of the important factors that we've seen shift over the last 7-8 months is essentially how have people started experimenting with different platforms. So to what Chris said there, like we didn't even know that platforms like these, or methods like these, or methods of shopping like these even existed, right? So BOPIS is the new term, like that's been thrown around a lot these days. But then essentially it means buying online and picking it up in store. So it's not very different to click and collect, right? But then just giving the consumers that ability, right, to choose the channel that they want to get their shipment from has also started taking the center stage. And again, these insights that we have on the screen just sort of solidifies that fact. 51% of shoppers in UK would want to have their order, as a click and collect, right? 26% of the shoppers would prefer express shipping, as an example, right? A lot of the brands, a lot of the people want to know what is the closest shop where the product is available in, right? Because as in when lockdowns are eased up, life comes back to normalcy. You'd want to get into a store and get out as quickly as possible. There's still some nervousness, so that's the reason why you have online store locators becoming norms when it comes to brand.coms and campaigns as well. So then how do we essentially prioritize these talks with the retailers as well, right? So it's not only a digital shelf anymore. It's not only about negotiating how does your product sell or what are the margins going to look like, but then also understand from some of the retail customers in terms of what are these different deliverables or delivery options that they provide to consumers as well, and then syncing your brand into those initiatives as systematically as possible is one thing that I'm going to see a lot of brands investing in over the next few years as well. So it's just not going to be being a part of Amazon journey, but then also equally being part of how Amazon sells my items. How quickly does that go into the consumer's hand? What are the different channels that we can play around with when it comes to delivery, shipping, and essentially have that interconnectedness in terms of, okay, an FB ad led to a sale, but then that sale happened for click and collect. That sort of streamlining and multidimensional approach to sales and marketing and omni-channel both is something that we're going to see over the next few months as well. Again, just to simplify it, and the key takeaway for me is, again, omni-channel is that state of mind when a brand starts thinking consumer first. And when they start thinking consumer first, it's not only about how are they shopping, it's about how are they getting the product delivered, what are some of the platforms that are leading to that sale, what kind of analytics and understanding that we get from that pattern of consumers buying in different ways, and at the same time investing in being a part of those shopping patterns at a more scaled level.
Yeah, that's great, Adi. It's really well summed up there, for sure. Karley, do you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
No, I agree. I think when you're on omni-channel and you're on Amazon, and you really have to, I'll get into it in my presentation, but when you're selling an omni-channel, shipping is the last part, right? And I think oftentimes a lot of merchants, forget about that. And I think it's just such an important step. And especially when you're selling on Amazon, you're selling on Walmart, you have to be able to offer that 2-day delivery, because that's just what merchants expect. And especially when you're on omni-channel, you have to break through that noise and really be able to compete with your competitors in the space.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure we'll dig into that later, because that's a really interesting point. But for now, we'll move on to the next section we've prepared here. So Adi, I might go to you first on this one as well. Basically, we've seen many new advances and benefits in the previous section, but it'd be great to get your thoughts on some specific ideas for brands that are kind of looking to master their omni-channel marketing. So if you'd like to maybe share your thoughts on that to start, we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Again, the graph on the screen, or the chart on the screen, just tells how great of a story it has been for e-commerce over the last 6-7 months. It's there's a term that we use internally, channels, and it's a funny one, because it's called, there's a hockey stick effect, and cause the whole upness of the graph kind of dictates a hockey design, whatever, so it's essentially been a great story, right, for e-commerce. And we all know that consumers shopped out of compulsion. So although it was, we did see some great growth in terms of sales, and that growth came pan global, so across all the key markets, all the niche markets, upcoming markets. But then there has been a lot of focus on how that growth was derived out of the fact that people were forced to stay in the house, right? So 2020 and some part of 2021, we're still going to see that trend wherein people are going to be ordering more online, and they're going to get it delivered at home. But in a lot of the initiatives, I think from a brand and a retailer standpoint, is not going to be on conversion anymore. It's going to be about retention, right? Because such a big loop of customers, or such a big number of customers have bought their items for the first time online, right? They've bought items in different categories online as well. But then all said and done, it's all about retention, and a lot of these initiatives are going to be around retention moving forward. And I think omni-channel, again, some of the initiatives that brands would want to run with their retail partners is definitely going to be around some of these tactics as well. So how do you make customers understand the value of keeping buying online, right? So rather than it being just being a one-time thing, or the lockdown time, thing, how can it be a process where customers do start experimenting with online shopping a bit more? uh, Again, on the next few slides, we've tried to show you a few tactics around how a brand should start thinking when it comes to some of the go to markets and go to online strategies. And to Karley's point there, like, it's just not about Amazon anymore. It's about, all these different platforms have come up, right? There are so many sellers who are competitively selling. So how do you compete with these sellers, right, as a brand and as a retailer? But then at the same time, how do you figure out what's the best fit? Like, the way I like to look at it, like, it's funny because back in the day in e-commerce, there was a very distinct differentiation between pure players and marketplaces versus a big box, right? So you had someone like Walmart, Target, who were predominantly offline, who were predominantly dealing in the traditional way of selling, right? And then you had someone like Amazon, Newegg, eBay, Otto in Germany, who are pure online players and nothing to do with offline in any way, shape, or form, right? But then Amazons have started opening stores, right? They've opened up grocery stores now, offline stores, bookshops. They also opened a salon, I think, in a barber shop in UK. I don't know why, but anyway, so there is that kind of interconnectedness now. Walmart maybe has as good of a online shipping service as Amazon, if not better. I would say Walmart has curbside, Walmart has click and collect, Walmart has last mile as well, right? So essentially, all these different tactics, which were so differentiated and segmented in the past, have now started interlinking, right? And that's a good sign for the customer, because the method of shopping is not just singular or one dimensional anymore, it's multidimensional. Uh, to add on to that, you have Glovo in Spain, who recently, it's a last mile service provider, got a 500 mil investment only last month. You have the Instacarts of the world in the US who've already kind of mastered the art of last mile themselves. Deliveroo, Amazon investment in Deliveroo just shows the fact that how Amazon is also keen on exploring the last mile side of things. So there's no differentiation anymore, right? The customer is going to go for whatever works for them, whatever is the quickest, whatever suits their time, and essentially gives them that agility to buy and receive the product in their patterns, right? And then brands have to now start thinking in these lines as well. So how do you start thinking of sampling on curbside, right? How do you start thinking of sampling with Instacart opened their ad platform last week as well. So Instacart as a platform is very much conversion driven. That's where consumers go when they actually want to buy something, right? So then how do you start triggering partnerships with Instacart, right? So rather than just thinking one dimensional, like not thinking advertising as a platform based initiative, but then thinking of advertising as something that streams across all the stages of the consumer decision, pre, post as well. Um, that's gonna start becoming a norm when brands start thinking marketing tactics as well. um, Again, moving forward, it all your traffic, all your media that you're going to be driving towards, it just can't be around Amazon anymore. So Superdrug, Boots, one of the biggest click and collect players in UK, again, Tesco, a great example of how groceries need to be thought of post online as well. So all your media initiatives, they would be central. They would start from you connecting with the consumers at different stages. These different stages can be triggered right across media. They could be triggered via brand.coms, but then eventually you as a brand or brands in general would have to now think of all these different partners and all these different partners and their playgrounds when it comes to shipment. So again, media with an eye towards deliveries and with an eye towards omni-channel deliveries is going to become a norm as well. So again, some of these discussions that you might want to have with your agencies is, what are some of these, activations that we should be doing when it comes to omnichannel presences, when it comes to different partners and different tactics, shipment wise. Again, moving forward, I think what we've done here is try to give you a bit of a quick glimpse of how it can happen as well. So as you can see, Uni Euro is a big it's one of the retailers in Italy, Best Buy, dealing in the consumer electronics Best Buy space, right? As you can see, they have online marketplaces where you can buy stuff online and get delivered at home, but they also have a very vast offline retail network. So initiatives which combine the experience, right? Showing an online call to action, but then at the same time giving the consumer that click and collect liberty as well if they want to go and buy offline. Just merging of the board experiences is something that brands would want to think of more going forward, and something that we'll see a lot of brands thinking of more as well over the next few months. Again, quickly moving forward to one more example of Target, right? Very clearly mentioning in-store, same day, buy it at store, shipping as part of the filter, as part of the main search filter on the brand website, or on their brand website. But then at the same time, you also have them clearly calling out what kinds of shopping or what kinds of shipping a consumer can do for a given product. So you obviously have pick up today, click and collect. You have same day delivery, last mile, pretty much, and then your normal delivery. So again, retailers are thinking on these lines because they know how important it is to facilitate consumers and give them that choice. But then at the same time, now brands need to start thinking on the same lines as well. So right time to have those chats with the account managers within the different retail customers that you have is in terms of partnerships, in terms of initiatives, and in terms of understanding how can you as a brand start becoming part of some of these initiatives as well. Quickly moving forward, and I know Karley and Chris would have lots to say on this. So again, just from an A+ content standpoint, like it need not just be on Amazon, right? So A+ as a term has been very Amazon specific, but then just seamlessness, as Chris mentioned earlier on, like that consistency of communication, that consistency of messaging, it just need not be around just need not be around shipping or some of the marketing initiatives, but then how do you think content beyond websites as well, right? Pack shots, basically having all those informations really simply laid out for the consumer, so that there's no confusion when they buy when they buy an item. But then at the same time, having that same theme of messaging across even cross media, like even traditional forms, like if you are running a TV ad, like ensure that we sell on Amazon, click and collect today with boots, this type of messaging, right, needs to be consistent. And again, with a key eye on ensuring that all the different touch points that a consumer is exposed to, right from marketing, right from media, right from Facebook to Google to email, right up till the time they purchase something, but even more so right up till the time they get it delivered and post feedback, all of that needs to have the same language and same terms of consistency. Again, the key takeaway over here is, as Chris said, seamlessness is going to be brought in a lot in this webinar. But again, it's a very important topic because that seamlessness would come from initiatives. That seamlessness would come from all the different players that you have within different organizations talking the same lingo and working towards the same objective, which is making it really easy for consumers to know products, make them buy that product right when, how, who they want to buy it with, but at the same time understand the feedback once they've done buying your products as well.
Yeah, that's great. It's really interesting, and it's kind of mad to be talking about e-commerce back in the day, Addy. So like, and how things have changed in such a short period of time, and how multifaceted it is, and how important it is to have that seamless omni-channel approach, and really gather all of that together. And conscious as well, like put it out to the floor as well. Chris, Karley, do you have any thoughts on any of that as well?
Just going back to that Target example, it reminds me of one of Shopify's big 5 predictions for 2021 and beyond, which is fulfillment is a competitive advantage, right? We've kind of always known that, but now it's really at the forefront. And so having the awareness to say, okay, look, we need to provide multiple options for how our customers want to receive their product. Obviously, the 2-day delivery, as Karley mentioned, is key. And so modern retailers, they need to be aware and doing analysis of, okay, what do our customers actually prefer in terms of the fulfillment side? We need to make sure that it's as frictionless as possible. Maybe we're paying a bit more to give them that seamless, fast shipping, but it's going to pay off big time in lifetime value of a customer. So yeah, just that adaptiveness, being able to be agile and modifying how you're offering that fulfillment is really key.
And I'm sure Karley would agree with that.
I was going to say, I definitely agree with that. And I think that the marketing Addie like nailed it on the head is having consistency on all the platforms, making sure your brand looks the same as it does on Target, as it does on your Shopify. And then just being able to, as Chris said, have consistency when it comes to fulfillment, really learning what your customers want. I think that, we all expect orders to get there in 2 days and for free, at least I do. So making sure you're staying competitive with that and you're really exploring, what does 2 day look like? How can I find a fulfillment center that can deliver on that? And even starting to look at what next day looks like and things like that.
And again, just to add on to that very important point, Karley, it's at times, with the level of resources a Target would have, with the same resources a Walmart would have, maybe 2 day for them is, not really a big task, right? But then when you start thinking D2C, right? So direct to consumer initiatives, a lot of brands are now coming up with their own shops. They are now coming up with their own fulfillments, right? So then, it just makes more sense to what, to what Karley said there, they need to have same partners, same understanding and same infrastructure that would enable those 2 day deliveries for a brand running a D2C as an example as well. So it's just not that is unique to a retail chain, right? Or like an Amazon or a pure player, but more and more as brands start getting into the D2C space, right? Once they start understanding margins on D2Cs, once they start understanding the infrastructure that they need to have to run a successful supply chain for the D2C network, you're going to see a lot more brands getting a grab of how can they seamlessly sync into an omni-channel experience as well for their brands via their own websites.
Absolutely. It kind of leads us into our next point then, and we'll jump straight into it. Again, Addie, we'll start off with you for this one and then jump to the rest of the panel. But what are the different channels that brands can use for their omni-channel marketing?
Yeah. Again, I think just kind of like segueing from the last point, it's important to think of e-commerce or as fulfillment as a one singular moment of truth within companies. You'd always tend to have different teams working at different in different silos, right? But in defining the best possible outcome when it comes to omnichannel has to be the job or has to be the task of every single team, right? So synergy is very important within brand teams. E-commerce teams can't work in silos. They need to be central to an organization, right? If a brand wants to truly be successful in online shopping space. So marketing teams need to communicate with e-commerce team about campaigns. Brand teams need to be aware of what content is on an Amazon PDP, right? Or a Tesco PDP or a Walmart PDP, right? Category and insights team need to go hand in hand with some of the supply chain departments that a brand might have in the future around, what are some products which are key to online space? Are there any super SKUs? Are there any power SKUs that tend to go out of stock quickly, right? So essentially, you can't have different teams working in silos anymore. So that interconnectedness of e-commerce, becoming the center stage, or sort of not the center stage, but also an important part in organization would come from synergy. So I think before we get into some of the challenges or some of the different channels into e-commerce, I think it's very important to frame this point very clearly. Is you can't have different teams working in different silos anymore. The information needs to get passed on, and synergy is going to play a very important role in terms of different channels for e-commerce. But then even quickly going to the next slide, you just can't have sales and marketing as two separate initiatives anymore, right? So sales, marketing, and operations, post delivery, customer care, all of that needs to become part of that overall omni-channel funnel, right? The D2C shops that you're going to be running need to have updated stock information on your Google Ads, right? Again, simply to put it simply, like, you can't have one message going on Facebook that doesn't go hand in hand with the final place of, item sale. And that can be a D2C shop or a retailer, but then sales and marketing can't be separate channel. It has to be it has to be part of the same pillar, the same funnel. But in even adding one more part to that funnel, which is operations, fulfillment, and care, is equally important as well. And I think that's where Karley has a lot of her expertise in. So I'll gladly pass it on to her, because I think we've spoken a lot around sales and marketing, but I think operations and post operations is where it starts getting a bit more interesting, because that's actually when the consumer gets their product shipped into their hand. So yeah, I think I'll definitely gladly pass it over to Karley to kind of like elaborate a bit more on the fulfillment and supply side of things. But yeah, before that, Keith, I'm sure like there's a lot of content when it comes to supply chain in the next few slides. But again, key takeaway here is that marketing needs to be holistic. Like, it needs to be comprehensive. Sales and marketing needs to become part of similar funnels or same funnels. But then at the same time, operations, shipment, and fulfillment also needs to become part of those funnels, so that all these different signals that a consumer is exposed to in terms of their shopping experience with a brand are seamless again, are consistent again, and all day enough so they're accurate as well.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. Absolutely, Adi. Before we move on, then I know we'll obviously hear about the shipping piece and that kind of last mile piece from Karley. But Chris, would you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I know we're going to jump into my section in a bit here, but the marketing piece is spot on. One thing I really love is how brands will use different channels to basically move customers along the funnel, if so to speak. So, picture social media as like the awareness piece. Okay, now we're aware of you. And then maybe on YouTube, they've strategically put a how-to video in front of your face. So you can be like, oh, that's cool. Now I know how to use that product. And then they'll hit you with a marketing ad, right? So I really love how brands use different channels to like push you through the funnel. Works on me, I know, as a consumer. So yeah, definitely that consistent messaging, but connecting those. If it's a disparate, as you said, Adi, it doesn't work, right? So that's the difference between multi-channel versus omni-channel. It only works effectively if you connect all of them. So I love when brands do that well.
Yeah, I can. Sorry, Jenny, I was just going to say I 100% agree with that. When I'm getting hit, when I see, on Instagram and I see it in my email and I see it on my Facebook, and then I can just check out on Instagram, like that to me is like such a win and totally gets me.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say that it really gets me too, but I'm also very okay with it.
Then I think, again, I don't know how many of you have experienced this, but like, you buy a product, and if you don't get that, okay, your order is, we've got your order email, like, I get some serious nervousness when that happens, right? So if I don't know who's going to be fulfilling the order as well, because I've seen a lot of brands suffer, like especially the D2C ones, like, because they might be working with like a big courier supplier, but the APIs are not functioning most of the times. So, if you don't get that, okay, your order would be delivered to you link, like, the tracking link, like, even small things like that, to Chris's point, like, there needs to be that connectedness across the, across the journey. Like, once you're done shopping for something, even the post care is so important. And, you as a brand definitely don't want to miss out on that front.
Yeah, Adi, you like nailed that on the head. Like, you need a 3PL to like, not only a fulfillment center, not only to be, operationally sound, but that they connect to your Target, to your Walmart, to your Shopify, and like seamlessly have those orders flow into their system without missing a beat.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You don't want, you start to feel like something is wrong then, and you're kind of second guessing yourself. So yeah, it is, it's really important. But that kind of leads us nicely into the next section then. Chris, you're going to take us through some of the cross-commerce challenges post-purchase then.
For sure. Yeah, so for quick context to set the stage, obviously Gorgias is a customer support help desk, so that'll be the lens that I'm speaking through. And so in terms of post-purchase, if we think of challenges, well, customers aren't always going to think to email you if they have a question or maybe even a complaint. They might not even go on live chat to message you. Maybe they'll just leave a complaint on social media. They'll be talking junk about you. And so that is a great example of how modern retailers need to be thinking about even social media channels as a support channel. And then just on this slide, I know we've kind of talked about some of the benefits of omnichannel. I won't go through each of these data points here, but safe to say, you can see just how impactful it can be for retailers to be leveraging omnichannel. You can see the increased spend that they're using. You can see what percentage of customers are actually leveraging multiple channels, whether they know it or not, throughout their shopping journey. And then the bottom left stat is one of the most important pieces here, is that retention. Addie hit it on the head earlier. You know, conversion is one thing, but conversions are inflated for everybody right now. Retention is key. And you can see that you're getting almost a 25% increase in retention with your omni-channel shoppers versus your single channel shoppers, which is huge. And then the final piece you can see on the bottom right there is only quarter of all merchants are actually taking omni-channel seriously as it stands today. And so that's why this is such an important webinar topic, is so people can really start understanding how and when they should be executing on an omni-channel strategy. Awesome. And then just to take this to a deeper level with support and how this impacts things, this is one of my favorite charts. It shows basically the 4 key ingredients to delivering exceptional customer support, which obviously has a major impact on retention. So consistently good service, we know that. Fast and immediate interaction. So that's obviously the norm now. We know as consumers, if we don't get immediate responses, then we think that something's wrong. No unpleasant surprises. So that definitely plays into the shipping and fulfillment piece there. And then the last piece is the most important and most challenging to achieve, which is service beyond expectations, right? And so this can have upwards of a 15% impact on your retention, which you might not think is huge, but that could be the difference between you falling well short of your year-over-year goals or blowing past it, and certainly blowing past your competitors. And so how this relates to omnichannel, it's the brands that are delivering consistent messaging across channels, but also are delivering exceptional support across channels. As I said, pulling in information from social medias, which a lot of brands aren't even thinking about as a support channel. That's how you can capture that important 15% in that bottom row there, and really have a huge impact on retention. And then one of the final pieces I just want to highlight here is, and this is really important, is we analyzed what brands customers are actually messaging them about the first place, because that really helps you understand how you should be crafting your support program, which is what we focus on. And so we analyzed over 10,000 customer tickets or conversations that brands were having with their customers. And this is the breakdown of question type. So you can see 1/3 of all questions or inquiries that customers are going to reach out to you about is order status, right? So fulfillment is, again, is a major trend for this. And so as a brand, what this means for you is you better have some processes in place to automate and answer these questions as fast and as seamless as possible, or you're going to be having a lot of upset customers. And the key challenge here is those order status questions aren't just coming in through Gmail or through live chat anymore. They're coming across all the channels. Consumers think that they can just message you about order status on social media now. That's the expectation. So you better not be missing that. And then quickly, I just want to highlight the other product questions you can see here. Such as product question, pre-order question, product availability. Even though those are only in 3 to 4%, if you factor in that some brands have 10 to 100,000 tickets a month, those are hundreds to thousands of pre-sale questions that if you're not capturing across all channels, you're literally missing out on it. So that's how it comes back to that 15% I mentioned a couple slides ago. You need to be pulling in information across all channels, or you're missing out on not just post-sale support, but also pre-sale conversions, right? So that's huge for us to know. And we make it really easy for merchants to answer all these questions in an automated and personalized way. And then I'll finish up here and I'll pass it on to Karley is where do traditional support help desks fall short for modern retailers? The 3 biggest takeaways I can give is the lack of automations. So if you're answering things manually, obviously, we know in the digital age we live in, that's just nonsense. That's why Zaps, for instance, were created. So you're just losing out on a lot of money. You're definitely not keeping your customers happy the way they deserve. The intelligence and personalization. So speed and automation is great, but you can't sound like a robot, or brands aren't going to really feel the love and the brand loyalty. So you need to make sure you have that perfect balance. And that's where leveraging data, reviews, rewards, loyalty data, et cetera, inside of your support platform makes it really easy to do that. And then the big piece here, obviously, is the channel aggregation. If it's in disparate ways, you have maybe a support team who's managing socials, emails, but they're not working together in a cohesive fashion, like Addie had mentioned earlier, then you're missing out big time. So the big takeaway you can see is brands can no longer assume customers only expect support via traditional methods that we did in the 90s and early 2000s. You need to connect with them everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's brilliant, and it's so important. And the way consumers are engaging with brands across every channel, it's so important to capture that and to be able to get back to those as well, and to be able to get back to them, then and there almost, because consumers aren't going to wait. We're quite impatient. So it's really interesting. So really good stuff. Adi, I'll pass over to you to take us through some of these other points as well, if that works.
No, I think, yeah, definitely to Chris's point there. I think Chris's chart there around the queries, right? It was a unique one, because some of the points that you're seeing on this slide were somewhat relevant on that one as well. So I think there is a big, there's a big need to have the customer servicing side of things aptly, and as Chris said there, there needs to be an interconnectedness when it comes to dealing with consumer queries as well. So how do you know the customer? How well do you know them? What kind of information you already have in your backend systems to being able to answer the queries in a timely and a satisfactory fashion? But then all some of the other challenges, like uh, can very well range from technology, right? So a very interesting point that Karley raised in the session earlier on was around API connections. So is your Shopify connected to your DHL? Is your WooCommerce connected to one of the other postal services that you are subscribed to? So I think technology, again, you can see one of the points there is a challenge right now. There isn't a lot of understanding within the brands and the retailers equally around the kind of technologies that they want to have internally to fulfill a proper omnichannel experience. So I would say investing in technology, investing in partners, like ShipBob, like Gorgias, like ChannelSight is very important, so that you have that internal understanding and awareness and systems to fulfill the post, omnichannel and omnichannel jobs per se. But then at the same time, synergy, right? Something that we talked about as well earlier on, staff training and information, the fourth point on the slide. It's important to also have that sort of niche understanding and niche staff training as well. So e-commerce departments can't be led only by sales, right? They need to have the category insights. They need to have the services and customer servicing departments within the brands as well. But then at the same time, stock availability, all this type of information. So inventory management in general, right? Your 3PL strategy needs to go hand in hand with what's actually there in the warehouse, right? Simple things like that. I ordered like just it, and I'm not making this up, but I recently ordered something online, and it was from one of the health chains that we have in Ireland, fresh health related retailer. And I ordered something, and I got an email today saying that they didn't have one of the items that I've ordered for, so they're going to ship that at some later point. Things like that. If your information on the website, your PIMs and your DAMs aren't connected to some of the front end aspects, if you're not showing stock price in sync with some of the information that you have in the warehouse, right? So that inventory management and tech side of things is definitely a challenge as well. But then I think the overall theme that comes out of some of the challenges, as you can see right away, is you need to have niche departments. You need to have niche talent within companies who understand niche departments like customer services and technology, right? So building that internal understanding and upskilling is the key to address the challenges. But then at the same time, having partners who are players and who are the leaders in different categories. So partnering with really talented partners is the key for brands as well. But then at the same time, thirdly enough, it's about choosing the right partners when it comes to building an omni-channel experience. So I think training, technology, and partnerships are going to be the key area of focus, or should be the key area of focus for a lot of these brands to address some of these challenges that we are seeing on the screen. Anything you want to add there, Jenny, Karley, Chris?
No, I think you summed it up quite nicely then. I think there, Adi, will it's a good segue into Karley's section, I think. So Karley, we'll let you take this then. I mean, obviously Adi mentioned some of the pillars of omnichannel being the marketing and sales side and kind of the advertisement and operations and all of that. But obviously then it is the operations and shipping and fulfillment and the kind of last mile piece that really kind of tops it all off. So I'll let you take it away.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm going to be chatting to you guys about why you need a 3PL for omnichannel and really why it's important. So first things first, the e-commerce landscape is changing. Adi did an awesome job at going through this, right? There's so many channels you can sell on, and like you can't just be selling on Amazon anymore. You need to be on Amazon, you need to be on Walmart, you need to have your own Shopify store. And then of course, there's even players like Facebook and Instagram throwing their hat in the ring now where you can sell on those platforms as well. And there's, like I said, a lot of noise in this space. So being on multiple channels is just really going to help you boost your sales and get ahead of your competitors. And I think that just goes hand in hand with you also equally need to have a fulfillment center that can seamlessly integrate with Walmart and deliver on their 2-day expectations. And then as well as having your Shopify store have that same messaging. So when it comes to support, there's no confusion, right? When you shop on Walmart, you're going to get the same delivery as you do when you shop on someone's Shopify store. So then this just goes to what I was saying, that, there's so many new marketplaces that customer expectations are changing as well. Like these are awesome stats, like 60% of customers who expect free standard shipping, 39% customers who expect free 2-day shipping, and 29% customers who say no to 2-day free shipping is a deal breaker. I think that this just shows that Amazon has really ingrained into all of us that orders should come in 2 days and they should be free. And if they're not coming in 2 days, then you should at least have standard free shipping. And in my next slide, I'll talk to you guys a bit about how a 3PL can help you achieve that, right? I think the point number one, a 3PL can help you fulfill faster and more affordably. I think that this is a constant theme, that you really want to find a 3PL, a fulfillment center that has multiple warehouses, right? So that you can distribute your inventory. So instead of having one fulfillment center in the Midwest and you have an order going to San Francisco on the West Coast, you maybe have a fulfillment center in LA. So then that order in San Francisco, it's getting there in half the time and it's getting there in half the price, right? It's going to be a lot cheaper to ship something from San Francisco or from LA to San Francisco than from the Midwest to the West Coast. And then of course 3PLs can help you reduce shopping cart abandonment and increase your AOV. So when it comes to shopping cart abandonment, I think just having things like 2-day shipping or free shipping makes it such a lower barrier to entry for that checkout. You're not even going to think about it, right? And then of course you can increase your AOV. We a lot of times see our merchants, they'll spend $100 and get free shipping. And I don't know about you guys, but when I see that, I will always spend that $100 to get that free shipping because I don't want to pay for shipping. I want it to be free. So yeah. And then of course, deliver a memorable unboxing experience. I always like to use this example. How many things can you say are going to get 100% open rate? Not a ton, but your box is, right? Like your box is always going to get open. So I think finding a 3PL that can differentiate you with custom packaging, custom gift notes, anything like that is going to be really important and leave that merchant with a memorable experience. And then of course, 3PL that can scale up and down with you. I think that everyone saw it during COVID and everyone sees it during busy seasons and holiday. You want a 3PL that can handle all your omni-channel sales. You have sales coming in from all over. So just finding a 3PL that can really help with when you're at 1,000 shipments per month to then 10,000 shipments per month and they don't miss a beat. And then the last thing is turn your cost center into a revenue driver. And that's something that we say at ShipBob all the time. And basically what I mean by that is fulfillment is an added cost to your business, right? You have to pay for the warehousing, you have to pay for the storage. So doing things like, you know, spend 100 and get free shipping, that's really converting that into making it more of a revenue driver and boosting your sales. And then distributed inventory. So I know I touched on that previously in the past slide, but I think it's just so important and kind of a constant theme that Addie and Chris, you guys have been mentioning as well, is splitting your inventory, right? Finding a 3PL that has multiple warehouses that can basically, you know, distribute your inventory for you. So you can, you know, you can achieve that 2-day shipping, or that next day last mile shipping is going to be super important. And then you can go, to the next slide, which leads me to the 2-day express shipping. So 2-day shipping helps merchants stay competitive on new channels, reduces cart abandonment by 18%, and increases their average order value by 97%. Like, those are really big numbers. An example and story I always like to tell is we have a merchant called My Calm Blanket. They ship weighted blankets, and they've just been consistently blowing up. Like, they were featured on Oprah's like best like Christmas gifts and things like that. And so for them, if you think about it, like they have a heavy product, right? Like one of their weighted blankets is roughly 20 pounds. Like it's heavy. So having one, they previously only had one fulfillment center, and they were just seeing just such a drop in their checkout, because when people were seeing that cost of like what it's going to cost them to get that item, they were abandoning their cart. But when they switched to ShipBob, basically what they were able to do was they were able to distribute their inventory, right? So have their goods in multiple warehouses, which then got to their end customer faster and for a way cheaper price, which they saw just such an increase in orders. So just to really hone in, it's so important when you're on multiple channels, just to have that, you know, free shipping and have that 2-day express program. And there's a lot of ways you can easily achieve this. It's just really finding the right 3PL that works for your brand. And then going global. I mean, being on Omnichannel is such a leverage that you're exposed to so many new people. And it really gives you the opportunity to go global at such a low upfront cost, right? But it's making sure that your fulfillment center can handle those international orders, making sure that they're up to date on VAT and tariffs and Brexit. Like ShipBob, we have international fulfillment locations, so we typically can help merchants with, you know, obviously a huge pain point for merchants, especially when they're omni-channel. Cool. And then just having a stable fulfillment. Expanding to new retail channels can require complex operational workflows, and it can pack data accuracy across your system. So it goes back to, you know, Gorgias and them having such a robust integration with Shopify, and same with your 3PL. Like, they really need to be a tech-enabled 3PL where they can plug into not only Amazon, but they can plug into Walmart, they can plug into eBay, they can plug into Etsy, they can plug into Target.com, and really be able to seamlessly pull all of that data into one place and ship it out. And then, the last point is the end-to-end experience. So in the race to sell on every channel, it becomes difficult to maintain consistent brand experience. So I think the key points when going omni-channel and really how a 3PL can help you is, one, making sure you're distributing your inventory. Like, looking for a 3PL that has multiple fulfillment centers that can help you with the 2-day shipping, can help you get, negotiated carrier rates and be able to offer, shipping costs if you can't do 2-day at a very low minimum. And then of course, having direct integrations into all the platforms and all the channels you're selling on. And then of course, having a strong operational background where they can do those, complex workflows, and they can deliver on, having custom packaging and really having that unboxing experience for merchants.
Yeah, I think obviously thanks so much for that, Karley. There's loads of really good stuff in there and a lot to digest, but you actually came back to a point at the end there that I really liked and picked up on, was that unboxing piece. And it's really important, and it is something that really stood out for me there. So yeah, excellent, thanks for that. In terms of kind of conclusion then and wrapping things up, Chris, Addie, I'll go to you. Maybe Addie, I'll go to you first just for some concluding remarks.
No, I think again, just to add on to what Karley said, like retailers are going to be opening up their marketplaces. Like Walmart is global now, so they've opened up, so again, it's as and when brands or direct to customer companies experience and experiment with shipping more and more, that experimentation needs to come at at what customers actually want, right? So to Karley's point, their customers do want last mile, customers do want that 2-day shipping experience. Essentially then it's all about fulfilling that expectation, having that seamlessness, but then at the same time understanding their needs, right? So how do they prefer shopping? Who do we need to work with to ensure that that happens? So again, investing in resources, upskilling and technologies, at the same time marketing cater to your target market. So essentially understanding, similar to the point one there, what are the partners that you need to work with, what type of retail media that you want to run. So if the campaigns are going to be conversion driven, maybe have Amazon, invest in Amazon ads, or invest on e-commerce, product listing ads versus Facebook ads, right? So understanding and catering your marketing depending on what your customer wants and what phase of the shopping they are in. But at the same time, having consistent, marketing messaging, in terms of customer service, as what Chris said earlier on. So that seamlessness doesn't only need to come on the front end aspect, which is, ads and media and your Amazon brand shops and your Walmart brand shops. That consistency needs to come post purchase as well. So omni-channel as a consumer retention strategy, right, starts making more sense as and when customers start experimenting with different types of purchases. But then at the same time, KPIs, right? So rather than to Karley said, I think she mentioned very clearly, in terms of how a 2-day shipping can increase your AOVs, right? Just incremental additions to your, service supplier, partnerships can have a direct impact in terms of customers ordering more of your products, right? So understanding the KPIs, understanding what KPIs are important. So rather than confusing everyone internally at brands, rather than focusing on that big ocean of data, you have, how do you prioritize a few KPIs like AOV, like conversion rates, like return rates, like cart abandonments, which essentially give you a more clear idea of what the consumer expectation is across the funnel. But then at the same time, simply using Google Analytics demographic dashboards, right? Like, where is the traffic coming from? Like, if there is, if on your brand.com, there is a particular, region that you're getting, most hits from, then maybe you should work with someone like ShipBob to essentially fulfill the demand in that particular region, right? So rather than just working with data and not getting any actionable insights, focus on the KPIs that tell you a story, that tell you a tactic. But then at the same time, use simple, dashboards, use simple, reporting portals, which are already being used to get that story synced with some of the omni-channel, expertise and omni-channel initiatives that you as a brand or as a retailer or as a D2C company are trying to run internally. But in stock, right? So I think this is a very famous quote, and I don't remember who said that, but I heard it in one of the webinars. It's simply, if it's not in stock, you it can't be bought, right? So, but then there needs to be one more layer to that code as well. Like, once it's bought, it needs to be fulfilled, and things need to be serviced. So it doesn't stop at stock and shopping anymore. It goes on to deliveries first, and then it goes on to post delivery second, and all that loop, when put into one seamless experience, I think that kind of becomes the whole omni-channel funnel, right? That would boost retention. That would boost consumers coming back to you, buying more products, buying more orders, and making those orders a bit more higher in terms of what they purchased the last time. So again, understanding what the consumer wants, understanding what are the KPIs you're going to be measuring to have those wants fulfill into KPIs, right? But then at the same time, investing again in technology and partners who not only just shop at consumers buying your products, but then extend that whole experience to when that product is actually delivered, and then getting positive, negative feedback based on that delivery, so that you can improve on the whole journey. I would just like to conclude with those three or four statements.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Eddie. Chris, any concluding remarks from you?
Yeah, just simply put, I think we've all demonstrated today that omni-channel strategy is not like the future, it's now, and brands need to start really seriously considering it. The easiest way that they can get started is start breaking down each of the channels and assess the customer acquisition cost for each of those channels, because it will be different, and then assess the ROI and then prioritize accordingly. Okay, maybe you only have enough budget to prioritize a few different channels, make sure they're interconnected, but just really start looking at the data to inform your decision making.
Absolutely. Very well put. I don't think I could have put it better myself, so I won't try. So I guess we'll leave it there, folks. There's some really interesting stuff for us to take away and digest. So thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it.